We're going to be focusing instead on Paul's teachings about the return of Christ in the first and the second letters that he wrote to the Thessalonian church. Starting in verse 13 of chapter 4 and then moving forward, Paul begins to focus more on Jesus' return for the church. And he emphasizes that we're to live our lives like Jesus could return today, just like I mentioned our big idea earlier, because he could. When you think about the return of Christ, we're living in this church age right now, right? When we get to the end of the church age where Jesus comes and raptures the church is taken out of the world. And the world goes into a chaotic time, we're going to look at that in just a moment, called the tribulation or the day of the Lord or the time of Jacob's trouble. It's called by a number of terms, but the church will not be there, will be taken up. Jesus didn't land there. He comes down into the air, takes out his church. He doesn't return to the earth until 7 years later. It's a really dramatic picture, isn't it? So the day of the Lord, don't get confused between the day of the Lord and the rapture. Two different things. Two different things. One follows the other, but the rapture, remember, we're in the church age. At the end of the church age, Jesus comes, shoop, takes out the church, all right? That's when the day of the Lord will actually begin during that period of time. And it's not a 24-hour day. In fact, it's a season of God's wrath and judgment. Most Bible scholars would agree that it's a 7-year period of time. In fact, the last half of it is called the Great Tribulation, when literally all hell breaks loose. But that will all take place after God removes his church from the world. But now here's a question for you. I want you to ponder this. If Jesus were to come back today, what would he find you doing? In what would he find you investing your life and your time and your talents, your opportunities? What would he find you doing? What would you want him to find you doing? Live like Jesus could return today, because he could.